I can't squat. Simple as that. Last few days, I just can't squat the way I want to. I feel like my ankles are in a cast or something. I just can't advance them forward. I can't tap into that dorsiflexion that you need to squat properly, especially front rack rather. It's pretty much impossible if you don't have a degree of dorsiflexion. And so what I'm finding right now is I am taxing the living hell out of my upper back. It's a seesaw battle. You know, if you can't get dorsiflexion, you better pay up big time with the upper back. And that's what I'm finding right now. And you know, some of these numbers that I'm doing on the front squat, like they're taxing me at least 20% more. Like I'm hitting 160 like it is 180. Like it's so freaking heavy to me. And because the front squat is becoming such a leaned over experience for me, I can't even tap into the quads, and it's just putting my back out, and my back was absolutely fried yesterday from the deadlifts. I pulled up remarkably well though. Like, you know, I have a little bit of like the mildest soreness to the traps and lats, nothing in the hamstrings. I'm convinced that the running that I've been doing recently has something to do with it, especially after yesterday's deadlift session. I ran, and I'm sure that does something to it. So I couldn't squat today, even though I hit 160. Like, it didn't feel right. Like, that's something that, you know, I try to explain to people. Like, it is 160, and I've hit 160 when I felt well. You know, sometimes you hit a number, and on the camera it might look the same as before. It just doesn't feel right. You know, your body's not aligned properly, and for you to go and put load on top of that, as in volume. You know, I had really good intentions of coming in today and doing some squatting, like a reverse pyramid like the other day. I thought that was really fun. You know, hit 170 for a single, 160 double, 150 triple, kind of all the way down to like, you know, 130 for 5 and then 100 for 10. That was quite fun, and I wanted to go back to it, but these shoes that I'm wearing right now, man, they are, I don't know, man, they feel great walking around. They feel great deadlifting. But even deadlifting, I feel like I can't get dorsiflexion. I can't leg drive at all. Like these shoes are making me leg driveless. You know, it's kind of feeling that way. But nevertheless, I'm going to persist and you know, continue doing it. You know, continue running. But today, because I couldn't have that dorsiflexion, I couldn't squat, and I really wanted volume in my legs, I decided, okay, you know, what can I do to make this time useful? So I thought, okay, well, I can't squat. Let me run. You know, unilateral. I'm thinking about, why is running so good? You know, how could I make running benefit me and my squats a little bit more? So then I started thinking about unilateral, blah, blah, blah. Ended up, you know, thinking about unilateral leg exercises, lunges. What's my favorite lunge? Reverse lunge. Also like walking lunges. Reverse lunges are just a little bit easier, especially in a gym setting. So then I started doing that. You know, I ran. I did my squats. And then I did a whole lot of lunges. Let me tell you what I did. You guys are going to be like, you're nuts. So I ended up doing 10 sets of 10 with just body weight. I didn't find that all that taxing at all. I could have done 20 per set, but I really wanted to kind of focus on, you know, advancing that ankle, you know, just kind of thinking about form. It was basically like a warm-up. Then I got a pair of 10 kilo plates. I did 5 sets of 10 with that. And then I went to the squat rack and I ended up doing another 5 sets with 40 kilos on the barbell. So that's basically the meat and potatoes of today's session. Because I couldn't bilaterally squat because of these, you know, ankle issues that I'm having secondary to these shoes and the running, I ended up doing a whole bunch of unilateral leg exercises. And then I finished up with a run. And the running I did quite, you know, I'm feeling comfortable in my feet. This is the weird thing. I'm feeling comfortable in my feet. Like, I reckon some of these muscles in my feet are getting stronger, and I reckon my calf is getting stronger. But with it, I feel like everything's getting shorter, and my squatting is suffering. But it all kind of came to a head when I started wearing these shoes. So anyway, let's see how tomorrow fares up. You know, you never want to react on a couple of days of bad squatting. But when a couple of days becomes a week, and then you start kind of questioning what's going on. At home, I've been stretching the ankles, stretching the adductors, stretching the glutes, because I'm actively now thinking about mobility, because I've even made it harder for myself, a step harder than it usually is. Right now, the way I'm feeling in these shoes, it's like, when you're wearing Olympic weightlifting shoes, you feel like you're squatting downhill, right? Like you got an elevated heel and you feel like it's so easy to get into a ATG position. Well, with these shoes, these Vivos, whatever they're called, barefoots, I feel like I'm squatting uphill. So it's like a negative foot drop, man. Negative heel drop. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of locking me up. It's really weird. I almost feel like it's easier to freaking squat bare feet than it is in these shoes. I don't know what it is about them. Maybe there's a few things happening here. The fact that I've started wearing these shoes, and also because I've kind of started running a whole lot now, maybe that's kind of catching up with me. I'm not sure. My feet were weak. Then I started running. My feet are a little bit stronger now. Maybe with that strength, I've developed a bit of tightness now. I don't know, man. There's a bunch of things happening in my mind right now, but still I got the work in. I came in and I did the best I could with these lunges. I wish, I felt better with bilateral squatting, but just didn't have it in me. I don't know. I don't know where else to go from here. Initially when I started running, I was feeling really well in my ankles. I felt like my calves were getting really good. And now I feel like I'm locking up. I don't know. It's really weird. Like even now, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking at my foot and I'm dorsiflexing it. And right now, basically, I'm like at 90 degrees. It's like, what the hell, man? So like active flexion and I'm in 90 degrees. You can't freaking squat like that. Like, I don't know. So I feel like I need weight on my back, or my front rack to compress these ankles into position. It's like, that's ridiculous. But this is where, a lot of people would just get Olympic weightlifting shoes and solve the problem. But like I'm actively thinking about how do I make these ankles of mine strong and long. Like I want to be able to freaking run, man. I want to be able to run, but also want those ankles to chill out and take the squatting. I don't know if you guys have ever tried high bar squatting without, without any dorsiflexion or limited dorsiflexion. It's freaking hard. As you add the weight to the bar, it feels like it's easier because there's more weight axially loaded and it's kind of transferred to the ankles and you can kind of compress these joints into a more of a flex position. But that is not what you want, man. You want, passive dorsiflexion. You don't want to, have 10 tons on top of you and compressing, because in a way, if that's happening, you are fighting yourself. The system is fighting itself for position. And that's not good, man. The days I remember when I squatted 182.5 on the front squat and 180 and then 170. The further I go back in my mind, all of those days I had good mobility. I felt like I was stacked. But now when I'm front squatting, I feel like the bar is in front of me. Like, I can't get underneath it. You know what I mean? And when you have that positioning problem, it's very, very hard to, put force into the bar when you are off keel or off center. Weightlifting is all about positioning, man. Like if you think about what we're trying to do, is we're trying to be a machine against an external force, external load. So if your machine is not calibrated, if your machine is off center, if your machine is out leveraged or something is happening, you're not going to produce the same amount of force. So in a way, like you can break it down to a machine. There's a fulcrum, there's a lever, and there's a weight at the end of it. Like, and it's all about that. And once you add all of these levers up in the system, and then you'll have a net result. But, if you start, putting yourself out of position, then, quickly those forces multiply against you. This is why we see some of these guys who are really good weightlifters, you feel like they're under the bar. They feel like they're in perfect positions. So weightlifting is not just about strength. It's about strength in the right position. And that's really the story. I was talking to a fella yesterday at the gym who was deadlifting before me. The man is jacked. The man looks really strong, powerful. Like he's a bodybuilder type of dude. And, when he saw me attempt the 260, when I hit the 240, he was like really impressed because his max is around 220 or something. Even though he's carrying much, much more muscle. I said to him, man, like, it's all about positioning. It's all about leverages. It's all about skill. And, it's not a sexy thing to say to somebody, that is bigger than you, more potential, more muscular strength than you. But really, the reason why I'm lifting more weight than him is because I've done this a little bit more for a longer period, and I've learned how to use my body in the best mechanical way. Where he might have all this power, but he just can't put it to the floor. He can't put that engine to use and transfer that power into the wheels. So that's kind of the same thing with the deadlift. Like, he can't use those leverages perfectly, whether because of lack of experience or whether he doesn't have the proper technique. But that's half of the story. Some days I've come in and I'm not feeling strong, but I'm feeling mobile, right? And those days, like, the numbers look pretty good on the bar. Like, I'm like, wow, I'm moving this quite easily. One freaking degree off center or off the right position, it's like tenfold the weight sometimes. It depends on, what position we're talking about. If that bar drifts forward of your midline, of your midfoot, you're fighting yourself. There's the weight, and then you're also fighting on yourself on top of the rest of the story. So it's kind of like, if you can get that bar over your midfoot and you can get that bump underneath the bar, all of a sudden, like, the system is working for you, not against you. It's kind of like, it all comes to to the intricacies, the details. Same with running. Like, there's guys that run, and then there's guys that run with a parachute, basically. They are, in a way, producing force in one way and then braking with the other leg or something like that. I'm not an expert in running, and I don't really know too many analogies for running, but, technical prowess is everything in sports, man. You can almost see somebody who is just effortlessly doing something. I'm sure we've all kind of can relate to this. You see somebody shoot a basketball, it's effortless. You see somebody run, he looks so elegant and tireless, like he's just floating, through the freaking air. We all know, like, I'll tell you a quick story, man. I know it's a black screen, whatever, but I had a friend who played with soccer, junior soccer, with a fella who was a striker, but he was quite thin, thin, small looking, kind of frail looking dude. He was a 15, 16, 17-year-old, and he was playing, the striker. And I said to my mate, like, what is so good about him? And he's like, man, he strikes the ball like nobody's business. Like, he's got so much power in that shot. And I know this guy, I've spoken to him, and I know exactly how he looks. He's like skinny freaking legs, man. Like, his thighs are like my upper arms, skinny guy. Short, skinny guy. And I said, what do you mean he's got a strong kick? He doesn't look like he's powerful at all. But he does, man. He's got a shot on him like it's incredible. And that's why he's the striker, because his ability to strike the ball is so impressive. And now, I look at my leg, I look at his leg, and I'm like, no, I could produce more power. But he does, like, I don't know how to strike it. There's a technical way of hitting the ball that produces the most amount of force into that ball. It's not just about having the biggest freaking engine. It's about the skill of it. And that's something that I've continuously seen over and over and over again. Technicians outperforming guys who look like they should win. That stuff freaking excites me, man. I love that stuff. And part of my attraction to the squat every day is this fantasy of mine to perfect the squat. And I'm far from it. I'm not happy with my squat. I want to be in a better position. That's kind of my dream of, like, squatting like Lou. Obviously, I can't squat like Lou unless I shave half my freaking femur off. But, that's kind of the fantasy that I'm always kind of thinking about. Okay, this is what I got. How do I best get myself into position for the body I have? I appreciate all of you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.